SVG exposes Austin Hill's illegal advantage. This is a driver calling out another driver in a way the garage cannot ignore. One driver is racing for a championship, the other is racing for nothing, and that difference is the problem. And honestly, the frustration is real. Fans watch every week hoping for fair racing. They want the best driver to win. Instead, they see a chase-eligible driver getting pushed around by someone who cannot even make the chase. It is a joke. It proves some drivers care about nothing but wrecking other people's seasons. But look past the outrage. SVG is not just complaining. He found something in the garage that everyone missed. Something that explains exactly why Hill keeps getting away with it. We will show you what SVG discovered, how he discovered it, and why NASCAR still has not done a thing about it. The full story is coming. Personally, I think SVG is right to be angry. Do you think Hill is racing dirty or just racing hard? Drop it below. And if real NASCAR coverage matters to you, subscribe so you do not miss what we reveal next. Shane van Gisbergen is not your typical NASCAR driver. He came from Australia as a 3-time Supercars champion. He won his first Cup race in his debut, the Chicago Street Race in 2023. That moment proved he could adapt to anything. Now he drives the number 97 for Trackhouse Racing. In 2026, he is chase eligible. Every point, every position, every finish matters. One bad race could end his title hopes. Austin Hill is different. He drove for Richard Childress Racing in Xfinity and built a reputation as one of the most aggressive drivers in the garage. When Kyle Busch died, RCR needed someone to fill the number 33 Cup car. Hill got the call. He is fast. He is fearless, and this season, he is not chase eligible. He has zero championship pressure. The tension between these two started long before 2026. At COTA in 2024, they made contact in a double overtime finish. Kyle Larson won, but the real damage was the rivalry that began that day. It followed them to Sonoma later that year. It followed them from Xfinity into the Cup Series. Every race since has carried an edge that everyone in the garage can feel. That edge matters because of what each driver is racing for. One driver has everything on the line, the other has absolutely nothing to lose. And that difference creates a situation that no one in the garage is talking about openly. But SVG is about to change that. The garage has been watching this feud develop for months. Team owners have taken notice. Some have quietly expressed concern that NASCAR is letting things go too far. Others have privately admitted they are watching to see how NASCAR handles this situation, because it could set a precedent for their own drivers. Every team has a stake in how this plays out. Trackhouse Racing owner Justin Marks has been vocal behind closed doors. He believes SVG is being treated unfairly by the system. He has reportedly told other owners that the chase eligibility rule creates a dangerous imbalance. A driver who is not chase eligible should not be allowed to race in a way that harms a chase eligible driver's chances. That is the argument Marks has been making. RCR has taken a different stance. They have defended Hill's driving style. They point to his aggressive reputation as what makes him successful. They argue that Hill is simply racing hard, and that SVG is being overly sensitive. The two camps are divided, and that division is creating tension throughout the garage. All that history was just the warm-up. The real turning point happened at Chicagoland Speedway on July 5, 2026, and what happened there is why this story exists at all. Chicagoland Speedway, July 5, 2026. SVG was running strong. Top 5 car, looking for his first oval win in the Cup Series. Hill was in the mix too, driving his typical aggressive race. The race had already seen multiple cautions. Tempers were already flaring. The atmosphere inside the cars was intense. Drivers were pushing the limits. Track conditions were tricky. Multiple drivers had already complained about the handling of their cars, but SVG seemed to have his car dialed in. He was consistently running lap times that put him in contention for the win. Hill was having a solid race too. He had worked his way up through the field after starting mid-pack. His car was handling well. He was running aggressive lines, using the high side to pass cars in the corners. That aggression is what makes Hill dangerous. It is also what makes him unpredictable. Then came lap 47. SVG drove deep into turn 3. He made contact with the left rear of Hill's number 33 Chevrolet. The hit was hard enough to destroy Hill's suspension. Hill spun into the outside wall. His race was over. The impact was significant. Hill's car hit the wall with enough force to rip the right front tire off. Debris scattered across the track. The caution flag came out immediately. The field slowed down. But the real chaos was just beginning. Richard Childress, Hill's team owner, got on the radio immediately. His words were blunt. It was payback for California. He was referencing the San Diego incident from earlier in June, a crash where Hill had triggered a massive pileup and destroyed SVG's car. That San Diego incident was controversial in its own right. Hill had missed the apex in turn 1 on a restart. That caused a chain reaction that took out multiple cars, including SVG's. After that race, SVG had called Hill a spud, a clear sign of frustration. The tension had been building for weeks. Under the caution flag, Hill did something that stunned the garage. He drove alongside SVG and intentionally sideswiped the number 97 car. This was caught on camera. Every team, every driver, every official saw it. The sideswipe was deliberate. Hill pulled up alongside SVG and turned his wheel into the number 97 car. Contact was made. SVG's car was damaged. The retaliation was clear. It was a statement. Hill was telling SVG that he would not back down. The TNT broadcast broke it down in detail. Jamie McMurray pulled up the SMT data, the telemetry from both cars. He showed SVG's steering input, throttle application, brake pressure. His conclusion was direct. That looked intentional. Dale Earnhardt Jr. agreed. "You can see the wheel turn," he said. McMurray went further. He showed the data from both cars frame by frame. He pointed out how SVG's steering input changed in the corner. He compared it to previous laps where SVG had taken the same line cleanly. The data was compelling. It suggested that SVG had made a deliberate move. Earnhardt Jr. added his perspective. He said the contact looked like something a driver does when they are frustrated. He noted that SVG is usually a clean driver. He does not typically make contact with other cars. That made this incident stand out even more. After the race, SVG was furious. "It is the same thing every time with him," he told reporters. Hill fired back. "He turned me. Plain and simple." Both drivers were angry. Both cars were damaged. NASCAR officials took the data, the video, the radio communications, everything for review. The post-race interview with SVG was tense. He was clearly frustrated. He talked about the history between them. He talked about how Hill had been racing him for years. He said he was tired of being pushed around. It was clear that SVG felt he had reached his limit. Hill's post-race interview was defensive. He argued that SVG had made contact first. He said he was just trying to race hard. He did not apologize for the sideswipe. He did not show any regret. He simply said that SVG had turned him, and that was that. NASCAR took everything: telemetry, radio, every camera angle. And what they decided shocked the garage. But that decision is not the real story. NASCAR reviewed every piece of evidence they had. They analyzed telemetry from both cars in detail. They listened to every radio communication. They examined every camera angle from every part of the track. They conducted separate interviews with both drivers. The review process took several days. NASCAR officials were thorough. They wanted to make sure they had all the facts before making a decision. They consulted with their competition department. They reviewed the rulebook. They considered the context of the rivalry between the two drivers. Brad Moran, NASCAR's managing director of competition, delivered the verdict. There is not enough evidence to prove the contact was 100% intentional and penalty-worthy. No penalties issued. Not to SVG. Not to Hill. The garage was stunned. Many felt NASCAR was letting drivers settle scores on their own. The comparison to Ryan Preece's penalty at Texas was impossible to ignore. Preece was penalized for less contact earlier in the season. The inconsistency drew sharp criticism. Preece's penalty had been controversial in its own right. He had made contact with another driver during a race at Texas. The contact was minor compared to what happened at Chicagoland, yet Preece was penalized. The inconsistency between those two decisions was glaring. Social media exploded. "NASCAR is a joke," one fan wrote. "Double standard," another said. Some suggested NASCAR did not want to affect the chase standings. Others called it a sign of weak officiating. The frustration was everywhere. One anonymous driver put it bluntly: "You cannot do that," but they did. Team owners privately expressed their frustration. Everyone in the garage knew this was not over. Not even close. The anonymous driver's comment captured the mood perfectly. There was a sense that NASCAR had set a dangerous precedent. Drivers could now get away with retaliating on track. The line between aggressive racing and intentional contact had been blurred. That was a problem for everyone. Some drivers started taking notes. They were watching how this situation was being handled. They were planning their own strategies. If NASCAR would not penalize Hill, what would stop other drivers from doing the same thing? The potential for chaos was significant. That no penalty decision was not the end. NASCAR called both drivers into the hauler at Atlanta, and what happened in that room is what SVG is still talking about. Atlanta Motor Speedway, July 11th, 2026. 17 minutes inside the NASCAR hauler. Both drivers were there. Their team owners were there. NASCAR officials were there. No media, no cameras, just a closed door and a conversation that would change everything. The hauler is normally a place of calm. It is where teams prepare for races. It is where officials make decisions. But on that day, it became a pressure cooker. The two drivers were face to face. The tension was unlike anything anyone had seen before. After the meeting, SVG spoke to reporters. He called it a weird dynamic. He said one person seemed more remorseful and eager to move on. The other, not so much. Then he dropped a bombshell. He is the kind of personality who feels like he has got to get the last laugh. Hill was asked if things were settled. His response was just 4 words. I sure hope so. Not a guarantee, not an apology, not a promise to move on. Just 4 words that left everyone wondering. 4 words. That was all Hill gave. No explanation, no commitment. Just a vague hope that things would be okay. It was the kind of response that raised more questions than it answered. The media pressed him for more. He gave nothing else. Then SVG revealed something even more troubling. Hill had threatened him in the meeting. He threatened that, I guess, SVG said. He feels like he has got to be the last one to strike. Justin Marks, SVG's team owner, had to physically intervene. He separated the two before it escalated further. The intervention was necessary. Both drivers were escalating. Words were being exchanged. Tempers were flaring. Mark stepped in to de-escalate the situation. He later described the meeting as intense and not productive. Sorry for the language, Mark said later, but I told them we are not doing this in the hauler. The message was clear. This feud was not settled. Not by NASCAR, not by the meeting, not by anything. Marks is known for being a calm presence in the garage. He does not often lose his composure, but that day, he had to step in. He had to separate two drivers who were on the verge of a physical confrontation. It was a sign of just how deep this rivalry had become. SVG was not talking about a car part. He was not talking about a rule. He was talking about something far more dangerous. And the garage is only now realizing what he meant. SVG put it into words that cut through everything. I have got the most to lose, and he does not. That simple sentence revealed the entire problem. The chase-eligible driver, the non-chase driver, the one with everything on the line, the one with nothing to lose. Hill can run aggressive lines without worrying about points. He can make contact without worrying about penalty implications. He can intimidate because the other driver cannot retaliate without risking his championship hopes. SVG is trapped. Lose points or let Hill get away with it. This is not a fair fight. It is a fundamental imbalance in the competition. Hill has a license to race with impunity. SVG has to race with caution. That is the advantage. That is what SVG exposed. Every point SVG loses is a hit to his championship hopes. Hill is not even in the chase conversation. He can afford to play the enforcer. This is not a fair fight. It is a mismatch, and it is affecting SVG's performance. Since Chicagoland, his numbers have dropped. He is off his game. He is thinking about Hill instead of thinking about winning. That is the advantage. That is what SVG exposed. The numbers tell the story. SVG's average finish has dropped. His points total has stagnated. He is not running as fast as he was before the incident. The mental toll is real. Hill is in his head, and that is exactly what Hill wants. Not a part on the car, not a rule in the rule book. A driver who can do whatever he wants, and another driver who cannot afford to fight back. That is the illegal advantage. That is what SVG decided to tell everyone about. The garage reaction has been telling. Other drivers are paying close attention. Some are furious. That is not racing, one said. Others are taking notes. Use this against SVG next time, another driver was heard saying. A precedent is being set, and everyone knows it. This is bigger than one race. This is about the rest of the season. SVG's championship hopes hang in the balance. Hill is playing spoiler, and he is good at it. The garage knows this story is not over. Not even close. Hill has been effective as a spoiler. He has disrupted SVG's rhythm. He has forced SVG to race differently. That is the power of having nothing to lose. Hill can be reckless. SVG cannot. That imbalance is the story. That is the part that changes everything. Not a part on the car, not a rule in the book, a driver who can do whatever he wants, and another driver who cannot afford to fight back. Now the next race is Atlanta, one of the most unpredictable tracks on the schedule. Pack racing forces drivers inches apart. One mistake, or one intentional move, and half the field is gone. The conditions are perfect for retaliation. Atlanta is a track that rewards aggression. It punishes caution. Drivers have to be willing to take risks to win. That makes it the perfect setting for more drama between SVG and Hill. The fans know it, the drivers know it, the officials know it. SVG is not a driver who backs down, but he cannot afford to make contact. His path is clear. Race clean and win anyway. That is the statement he wants to make. That is how he proves he is the better driver. Winning at Atlanta would be a powerful statement. It would show that SVG can overcome the disadvantage. It would show that Hill's aggression does not intimidate him. It would be a defining moment in SVG's season. Hill said, "I sure hope so." Not, "It is over." That is not a promise. That is a warning. He has already shown he will retaliate under caution. At Atlanta, with pack racing, the opportunity will be there. Hill is a dangerous driver at Atlanta. He has raced well there in the past. He knows how to navigate the track. He knows how to use the high line. He will be a threat to win, and he will be a threat to SVG. NASCAR officials have already shown they will not penalize. But another incident? That would be a different story. They will be watching every move. The question is whether they step in before it is too late. The officials have a tough job. They have to balance competition with safety. They have to enforce the rules without overstepping. They have to make decisions in real time. It is not easy, but they know the eyes of the garage are on them, and that is where we are right now. A chase-eligible driver, a driver with nothing to lose, and a race that could change everything. What happens next is up to them. This is not the end of the story. This is the middle. The next chapter is coming, and the entire garage is watching to see what happens. Drop a no in the comments and tell us, do you think Hill has an unfair advantage, or is SVG just complaining? We want to hear what you think. And if real NASCAR coverage matters to you, subscribe. We cover the stories the mainstream misses. The Atlanta race is coming. We will be right here when it happens.